What's going on, everybody, and welcome back. So in this video I'm going to be throwing the car pretty much back together, and then if I can get that done tonight I can hopefully start working on the spoiler, which I'll show you guys. So the story on the spoiler is it showed up broken and I was able to get the guy to send me another one, but it's 3 weeks out from Malaysia. And my thoughts are, just seeing on the way this one broke, the quality of it doesn't really look very good, but it was cheap as far as Mugen spoilers go, or Mugen, I don't know how to say it, but Mugen spoilers, they're pretty expensive. So I decided to get this cheap knockoff one, and it came broken, and I wasn't really surprised, but it's fiberglass, so we can fix it. So I think I want to try to fix this one and put it together solid, and then actually use that one on the car, or at least run that for a little while, see if it doesn't crack, and then I'll paint it eventually. But the other spoiler that comes in the mail, if that one shows up in good shape, cool. Maybe I'll try to resell it or something. But if that one shows up broken too, then it just goes to show these are weak, flimsy spoilers. So I'm going to try my best to reinforce it and also fix it and put it back together and make it look decent. So I'll show you guys that. But it's actually finally, beautiful outside, right, Georgia? She's old. She doesn't really care anymore. Georgia. Nice out, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, she's basking in the sun. But yeah, so finally getting nice out. Hopefully it stays this way. So over here we got this quarter, which is all primed, looking good. And I'll turn on our spotlight here so you guys can see. But I did get this whole section panel bonded in. I didn't really show any of it, but basically I just cut it to size, ground the metal, and put a bunch of panel bond on it. I did try to tack it first, but for some reason I couldn't get my welder to work. I don't know if I didn't have a good ground, or I'm not really sure what it was. It was too far away, but it wasn't really tacking good, so I was like, let me just panel bond it like I did with everything else. And it seemed like it came out really good. It's pretty sealed. There's a couple of holes, but I do plan on filling this with seam sealer from the inside of the trunk. So if you guys look down in here, that little area right there, this corner, is where that repair is. So you can see that. I'm going to actually probably fill that whole area with seam sealer to try to keep the water out and keep it from rusting in the future. So that's the plan. As for right now, I'm going to throw some just some rattle can primer on the inside there, and we'll try to keep it from rusting. And then I'm going to go ahead and throw the wheel back on, probably throw the bumper on too. See if I can get this car mobile. I want to start driving it around. Well guys, I got the car out of the garage, got it all set to go. I did take it for a little rip. We'll see how well the low light works with this camera, but did take it for a rip. It was cruising, didn't take you long just because I was just enjoying the car. But yeah, it ripped pretty good. Was able to get it to actually spin in second gear. I did get a new shift knob, or a shift knob extender. Give me some light here. But yeah, I got this guy right here. It's a fake K-tuned shift knob extender. Pretty sweet. It looks a little, I don't know, I don't really like the way it looks, but it does give me a lot more leverage, and I do think that I'm able to hit shifts a little bit quicker because it's closer to the wheel. So if it serves a purpose, I'm all about it. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, the car is running great. Just got to do that valve cover gasket. But for now, I'm going to try to work on this spoiler. So I'll show you guys my Mugen spoiler. Looks really good until you see this crack right here. And then, also the whole thing is in two pieces. So this is basically, when it showed up at my house, it was basically broken like to here. Like this whole side was split on both ends, and this part was cracked. You could see the crack there and right here. So basically this thing showed up really broken. So yeah, it's like, it's so thin and the primer on it's so bad you can even like see through these areas here. So this thing's super thin and it's very flimsy. Like I can flex this thing easily with my hand. So what I'm thinking I want to do is go through, make it stronger, right? Because I did get him to send me another one, but I'm assuming the next one's going to come up come to me the same way, and I assume it's going to be just as crappy. So like, I'm really concerned about throwing this junk thing on my car because I don't want it to crack in the future, you know, especially after bouncing around on the car for a while. So I think I might be better off fixing this one, and then the other one that I get, maybe I'll put up for sale. You guys let me know if you want to buy it. If any of you want to buy it, it will be for sale. I'll cut you a good deal. But yeah, so I think I'm going to go through and reinforce this. Good thing about fiberglass is you can always fix it. So I got this fiberglass resin here with the hardener, and I just found some fiberglass mat lying around. So we'll be able to use these two things to reinforce it. So I'm going to throw some gloves on because you don't want to get the fiberglass splinters, but I'll cut some strips here to lay in here. I think this is the main area I want to stiffen up, and then maybe I'll run some strips here. This is not as bad since it's a curved surface, but we might run it all the way in the corner here too. And I do have to fix this crack, so I got to figure out what the best way to do that is. I think I might grind it out a little bit and layer up the strips here, and then on the outside, I guess I'll just use a little bit of filler. I'll probably groove it out, put a little Bondo glass in it. But yeah, we're gonna have to see. And then it'll be a matter of gluing this thing back together with probably panel bonder. I'm gonna see about flaking off all this crap though. I'm not sure if I wanna leave that on there or get rid of it. So I guess we're just gonna have to see how it goes. But yeah, I'm gonna start cutting some mats. So I just cut some mat, nothing crazy good, just, you know, roughly fit it in there. I could always come back and add more, but I think what I'm going to do is take these pieces off, set them down somewhere, and then give it like a quick scuff on the inside just to make sure we get some good adhesion between the layers of fiberglass. I don't know if you need to do that or not. I may look it up, but I think that's what I'm going to do. And then I'll lay down a layer of fiberglass resin, and then I'll lay down the mat, and then I'll lay down some more over the top, and that should be, hopefully one sheet will be enough to give us a little bit of added stiffness. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix my resin here. It says that they want 10 ounces of resin, I'm sorry, 1 ounce of resin for 10 drops of hardener. So I'm just gonna take a measurement here by eye, and we'll throw some resin, put some hardener. We're going to mix it up, use a little brush, put a nice layer on this nicely sanded piece. I don't need the respirator on, I haven't really started mixing yet, but yeah, and then we're going to go ahead and throw the mat on it. And I was thinking about maybe using both pieces of mat that I have for this one, because this is kind of the one that needs more strength, because this one's actually going to be screwed down to the trunk, so it's probably not going to move as much. So I might use them both on here. I guess we'll see what it's looking like after one. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and throw some resin on it, throw the mat down. You can see how floppy it is. Hopefully it dries in the same, in the correct orientation. Maybe I will put this other piece on top of it and then clamp it and let it dry so that we know it's going to be in the right shape, so we don't dry it in the wrong shape. I guess maybe it'll still flex enough to go back together. So either way, we'll put some resin on it. Alright, so my fiberglass is all drying right now. I did this piece, I did the one, just one sheet all the way across. Should stiffen it up a bit. And on this one, I tried to fix the crack. So I sanded the back of it, and I went ahead and threw that piece of, 2 pieces of mat on the back there, and then I had the hammer sitting there just so that when there's weight on it, it kind of closes up the crack a little bit. So it should make it a bit better. Yeah, so I'm hoping that the crack does not reappear. I'm going to try to strengthen it. I'll grind it out from the outside, and then I'll fill it in with some Bondo glass. Hopefully we get a good bite. And yeah, hopefully the crack stays away. But yeah, I got to look at how well it fits on the car still. I haven't really checked that. But yeah, I'm going to have to drill some holes to mount it. But yeah, we're getting somewhere. We're going to stiffen this thing up, And then hopefully I have enough panel bonder to panel bond this thing back together, and then we can start to make it look nice, and we'll prime it and then be ready to throw it on the car. Alright, so my fiberglass dried. It's been, a day or two, and it's looking pretty good. It's definitely much stiffer. I can feel that it feels heavier, and it's got more rigidity, so I'm glad that I added a piece to it. I think once it's glued together, it'll probably be rigid enough now with the 2 pieces instead of the 1 that it had. I just got to grind this little section down where I fixed my crack. It seems really rigid right now. It's really sturdy, so hopefully the crack will not reappear. I think we're good. I got 2 sheets of fiberglass on the back. So I'm going to go ahead and grind that off, make sure that the 2 pieces go together really good, and then I'll see if I have enough panel bonder to glue this thing and then clamp it together, and then we'll let it sit for 24 hours and we'll see if it holds together this time. So I was doing a little dry fit just to see how it fits, and I'm pretty happy with the way the front fits. It looks pretty good for most of it except right in the middle here, but honestly it's not too bad. There's like a little crack here, but it's not too bad, so the panel bonder should fill that in. But in the back here there's a pretty large gap, so I'm going to see if I can make this look a little better because I don't really like that gap. So I'm going to pull it back apart, sand that down, test fit it again. If that gap looks better, good. If not, I guess we'll just glue it and we'll figure it out later. But yeah, it's gonna be good. I think the panel bonder is really gonna hold this tight, so we shouldn't have any issues. But this little section right here has to get sorted out because that's gotta be a little bit tighter. So I let this thing sit overnight, and all the panel bond is very dry. It's nice and hardened. So I'm going to take all my clamps off, and then I'm going to go over this thing just really carefully with the grinder and try to grind some of this panel bonder off and get it to where we're basically flat, being careful not to go through any of the fiberglass. And then we're going to have to put a little bit of filler on this edge here. So I might use a DA actually instead of a grinder, just so I can be, careful. And then, yeah, we'll take all that off, and then we can worry about slapping a little bit of fine filler on here to add a little bit more, smoothness to it. And, yeah, then we'll get ready to sand and prime. Alright, so I just spent quite a bit of time actually using a block. I used this sanding block with a piece of 80 grit sandpaper on it, and I just went and blocked everything. I went all the way around the entire spoiler, and I took away all of the panel bonder. There's still, I guess, a couple of areas, like right here, I'm going to revisit. And then right here, there's like a little bit of a gap, like in some areas. So any of these areas that have gaps, I'm going to try to fill in with some filler. And this is where that crack was from the back that I reinforced. So what I did was just grind that whole crack out so we have somewhere to put filler. And I'll put some filler in here, and that crack should never reappear. But yeah, there are some areas that I still have to hit. So I'm going to take that 80 grit again and go over it. And then I'm going to apply some filler to probably the whole edge. And then I will be able to shape it really good. So yeah, this is looking really good. And this thing is just so solid. Like, holding it now versus obviously when I got it, it was smashed. But it just feels so much less flimsy now that it's all fully glued together and solid. Like, I really have no doubts that this thing is gonna last. It's not gonna break. So I'm pumped. I'm gonna get this thing all filled in and then see if we can get it smooth. And maybe we can shoot some primer on it today if we get far enough. That'd be pretty cool. So I got some of this Evercoat glaze right here. It's like a polyester putty. It's a really lightweight stuff. So I'm gonna mix up a bunch of that, and I'm just gonna go over my entire edge everywhere just to make sure I fill in any pinhole, so we'll fill all that stuff in. and I taped this off because I'd like to fill that with Bondo glass, make it stronger. I did grind out the crack there so we can put some filler in it and have it not re-crack. Looks like the crack might be right over here, so I might grind a little bit more right there, but yeah, we're looking good. I'm gonna go ahead and put some filler on this. So I got filler all over my entire edge here, front and back. I'm gonna go ahead and start with some 80 grit to just knock it down a little bit, and then I'll probably switch over to 180 if I like the way it's looking. If not, maybe we'll end up putting more filler. I'm sure there's some areas that are gonna need more. It was good to mix small batches with little amounts of hardener because it was hardening up on me, because it kind of took a while to go all the way around. But I'm just gonna start with 80 and get sanding. So I got all my lightweight filler sanded. It's looking pretty good around here. I think, there's maybe an area here and there that needs a little bit more, but I'll go over the whole thing with 180 after I do this section. I put a little bit of Bondo glass on the crack because it's a bit stronger, and I want all the extra strength that I can get here. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'll sand this off, and whether I gotta put lightweight filler on this area or not, I'm not sure yet, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's looking really good, nice and smooth. Just got to go over the whole thing with 180, and then we'll be just about ready for primer. So I had some pinholes in my actual primer that the guy had shot on this, so there were some pinholes that I filled in, and all I used was this glazing and spot putty, and there were also a couple of pinholes in my Bondo and some other scratches, and so I just used this right here, glazing and spot putty. And I let that dry pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is take my guide coat right here, my powdered guide coat, and this stuff's great, but we're just going to go over the whole thing here, and it's going to make it nice and dark. I might end up getting a little more on there, but yeah, so we'll go over the whole thing, make it nice and dark, and then we'll go over that with 180 grit until we don't see any of this dark guide coat, and then we know that we're nice and flat and there's no low areas, and then we'll be officially ready for primer. Alright, so I went to go start sanding, and I realized that I had like a huge low area here, one here, this area, also a low area here and here, and yeah, so it was pretty bad. It was pretty wavy and warped, and I could just tell that it was really bad. So I decided that I didn't really want it to look all wavy, so I put some filler in it right here, and all those low areas, I tried to find them all. And so now at least the top of this thing is like really straight, so I'm pretty happy. I think once I put the primer on there and block it again, we should have a pretty straight wing. Just the fact of the matter is these things don't come straight. It's fiberglass. It's really hard to have a straight fiberglass piece, and you just have to expect that you're going to do body work like this if you want it to come out looking really good. You know, I mean, of course you can throw some paint on a wavy spoiler and it'll still look pretty good, but you know, when you look at this thing, I want it to be completely flat, just like, you know, a nice body panel on a car. So put some filler in the low area. This feels really good now, so I'm pumped. I ended up using a really long block. This is the only way I was able to get it to you know, not be all wavy, was using this long block, which was helpful to keep the dips out of it. But yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna call it for this video because I'm sure I have quite a bit of footage here and it's getting pretty long. But yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video on how to fix and get a spoiler ready for primer. A lot of these eBay fiberglass spoilers, whether it's any car, you know, they're just gonna come beat up and they're gonna come not really ready for paint. You know, you could paint it, but you're really gonna have a subpar spoiler when you're done. So you really gotta kind of go the extra mile, in my opinion, and do this kind of body work to make it look good in the end. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, subscribe and stay tuned for more. And yeah, peace out, guys. Thanks for watching.